My name is Helen Smith and I'm working as project manager for Cycle Lincolnshire, which is the legacy of Cycle England for Visit Lincoln. So Cycle England, as Charlotte mentioned earlier, was one of the deaf-funded projects. So Yorkshire and Lincolnshire worked together to put cycling holidays together, sell them via Dutch and German tour operators, and take them to market. So 4 routes were created. So there was the Humber to the Wash, Lincolnshire Wall Cycle Route, Historic Lincoln and surrounding areas, stately homes of South Lincolnshire. Now they're all quite longish routes because they were being sold to the Dutch and the German market, so they are to be done over 4 or 5 days, taking in, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 miles a day. The cyclists that we were and still are targeting tend to be the leisure cyclist. So it's not the lycra, it's sort of typical clothes like the ones in the picture, and where they would enjoy having a pub lunch, popping into attractions and hopefully spending time and money in the county. So the importance of cycle tourism, it contributes significantly to the economy. In fact, it's worth £520 million. In bed nights pre-COVID, there were 1.23 million bed nights from cyclists. Particular benefits to businesses in rural areas. All the best cycle routes tend to be in the countryside. And just going back to sort of the European feel, the reason we chose Holland and Germany was because Germany in particular has the highest propensity to take a cycle holiday more than anywhere in Europe. And in fact, 8% of Germans annually take a cycling holiday. So cycle tourism in Europe is worth a heck of a lot more. It's 44 billion euros. So, you're all here today because you're wanting to tap into the cycle tourism market. It's predominantly, I guess this workshop predominantly is targeting towards B&B, guest houses, food outlets and attractions. Do we have a good mix of those? I know we've got one guest house. Yeah? How about you, sir? What do you do?
I represent, I'm a director on the Case Arts and Heritage Centre Board, and my wife has a self-hosted accommodation.
Oh, crikey. So you want them to stay with you and also visit at the attraction at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. How about you, sir?
We have a tea and coffee place, a toilet, self-catering as well.
Okay, fantastic. So you want to welcome them for coffee and cake, as most cyclists like to do, and also get them to stay in your self-catering as well.
I'd like to join them, yeah.
Yep. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so if you put yourself in the mindset of the cyclist, what are they looking for? Well, they're looking for a warm welcome. So every now and again, it's always good to sort of step back and have a look at your promotional material, have a look at your website. Do you offer a warm welcome? Does it look like something you would book for your own holiday? Do you give clear indication as to what you're close to or where you are? And does your material portray a quality experience? It's jumped a slide. I do apologise.
It's like sipping a cog when it's not properly just.
Right, sorry. So, going back, why we're here today, we are here to talk about becoming cycle friendly. And so an online tutorial has been put together to help businesses such as yourselves, B&Bs, attractions and guest houses, to get to understand. Maybe some of you already are aware, but those of you that are new to cycle tourism, just to get a bit of an idea as to things you can put into place that would attract the cyclist. So the course is on a platform called Teachable. On each of the tables there's some cards which shows links to the Teachable online course. There's also a QR code as well. I'll talk about the accreditation at the end. So going on to the course, and it will give tips and advice on such things as your marketing material. So do you offer a warm welcome? Does it advise something you prefer? It also gives practical steps. So whether you're an accommodation provider or a tea room or an attraction, how about offering a first aid kit, just in case anyone fell over or fell off their bike, something you can possibly have under the desk somewhere. Charging points for e-bikes, phones and sat-nav devices. This is what cyclists would be looking for as well. They want to top up the water bottle, so do you have an area that is available for this? And also bike maintenance kits. If someone gets to you with a flat tyre, it would be great if you were able to produce a kit to help them fix the bike. Accommodation providers especially would need to offer secure, dry storage for bikes. You may also like to offer a light breakfast, bike washing facilities and also drying facilities. If someone's been cycling and they've got caught in a shower, it would be really nice if you could offer somewhere for them to dry off their clothes. Again, predominantly sort of towards the accommodation provider, but it would be really nice if at reception you could have just an information fact sheet really. So if someone comes to you and says, oh, where's the nearest cash point? Either you or your receptionist, we don't really want them to say, oh, I've no idea. Or where's the chemist? Bike repair shop? Nearby cycle routes, attractions. What's the public transport like? If we're wanting people to stay with you for a couple of days, if they've maybe cycled to you, to get them to stay that bit longer, if you were able to say, oh, you could take a bus into town, we've got this attraction on the doorstep.
Well, in Lincolnshire, yeah. I've been here 30 years, and I think that's the whole event, the Achilles heel, I think, is transport. It's just so. It's not joined up.
It's not joined up. No. But if you are aware of some nice cycle routes, attractions nearby, restaurants and pubs, then they could maybe cycle to those. But I appreciate that the transportation isn't always linked up there. So what can you do to develop your business? Well, have a look at your website. Is it inspirational? Do you have a cycle section on your website? Are you bookable? All these things are crucial if you're wanting to target this segment. Are you active on social media? Facebook is very popular. Are you familiar with your local tourism officer or DMO? A lot of the time we get requests from journalists from London or from other parts of the county, or other parts of the country rather, saying they want to come over and do a feature on something. We then need to try and find accommodation that would ideally give a complimentary stay. If you would like to offer a complimentary stay and you feel that you're lucky to be in an area of outstanding natural beauty, please let your tourism officer know or your DMO know, and they'll keep a note, and if in the future an opportunity arises, you could maybe be hosting a journalist. Cycle publications and platforms are great outlets to advertise. So if you are spending money to advertise, look at sort of the types of publications that you're targeting. Talk to cycling clubs in your area and get advice from them. So, after you have completed the online course, we would send to you a charter which gives you a list of sort of the criteria, depending on your business, that you would need to implement. Once you have implemented those, you send the charter back along with evidence, just as Jackie did, and as long as we can see that the evidence is in place, you get accreditation. And we have produced very nice window stickers for you to show that you are ready to welcome cyclists, an upstand to put on your reception table, but also a digital widget which is just bespoke. So your online listing on visitlincolnshire.com and also visitlincoln.com if you are members of Visit Lincoln, we would include that to show viewers to the website that you are cycle friendly. So that's the charter. Now, the various opportunities available for joining up and being part of Cycle Lincolnshire is again hosting journalists as and when they come, but we're also working closely with the travel trade, and so when we're putting these holidays together, we want accommodation providers in the area that's willing to work with the trade, and that is possibly where you would need to negotiate a booking rate, maybe sort of 15-20%, and then the tour operator promotes the holiday, and then hopefully you would get the benefits of being part of that day. The new website, yes, as Charlotte mentioned, there's a new Visit Lincoln website coming in the summer. There will be a new Cycle Lincolnshire website coming towards the end of the year, and a lot of social media and a lot of activity and marketing will be done around there to hopefully encourage more and more cyclists to the site and hopefully into the county. So in a nutshell, that is becoming cycle friendly. I'm more than happy to talk sort of freely on anyone that has any questions. You had a question earlier about sort of the Dutch and the German market?
Well, it's interesting, those figures, isn't it? How high they are, but they invested a huge amount in their infrastructure for cycling. So
yes.
The Dutch are ahead of the Germans, but the Germans built routes like, for instance, one down the Rhine. There's also the circular route around Berlin, and all those routes have got a massive boom in campsites, B&Bs, and all the.
Absolutely.
But in Lincolnshire, I just think we're a bit stuck with our infrastructure of transport to get people in, especially if they're coming from bikes. Another figure that came up downstairs is 14% of visitors to Lincoln or Lincolnshire were from London. We've got a direct route to London now on the train.
Yeah.
Isn't it not, wouldn't it be sort of wise to sort of try and tap into that? Also, the North Circular in London, now if you go inside that, you've got to pay for your car. So there's less motor cars in London now.
Yeah.
So they're probably looking to go out on holiday or to go visiting on a train and not drive somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but we got a log jam ourselves when it comes to Lincoln, because the infrastructure getting out of Lincoln into the Wolds, for instance, which is my part of the world,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
almost non-existent. The last bus to Louth, for instance, from Lincoln is just after 5 p.m. You can't even work in Lincoln, let alone go visiting or go out in the evening and think you can get public transport home.
Yeah.
Also, the smaller trains, East Midlands trains, for instance, you leave people on the platform because people can't get on them. They're so crowded, especially at the weekend when people might have got time off to visit.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, until you sort of square that circle as such, I think it's going to be a struggle to get people in.
It's not easy, but one thing in cycling's favour since COVID is that people are wanting to get out into the countryside. certainly people are cycling more now than they ever did. And I guess all we can do is keep lobbying to try and, get the infrastructure there. Because as you said, it is very frustrating. It's great having these lovely routes, but when it's difficult for people to get to the start point, then they're going to turn away and possibly go elsewhere, aren't they?
I'm Tony, I've got a co-working space in Louth that I offer free cycles for my members.
Okay.
So I'm interested in the kind of, as Dominic mentioned, the infrastructure, but what I say, I had a cycle hire business on the coast of Four Sons for 4 years, and what I found was cyclists are quite independent and will make their own arrangements very often, and don't always expect a package. I had Germans and Scandinavians coming that were hiring bikes from me, having found me on your website that it was then in Europe, and coming over and leaving here.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't have a lot, perhaps a handful of those over the 4 years, but there is a market there, I think you're right. And I think they tend to be independent and they find their way, generally, because that's the cyclist way. I'm a cyclist, a leisure cyclist, I go up and down the coast. But they do tend to find their way. I think if you're using this symbolism abroad, and they're recognising this when they get here, then they'll associate it with a brand. And I think that's good. I think that's a really good thing. And although I'm not an accommodation provider, I'd like to know how I can be associated as a business in Louth with Cycle Lincolnshire. So that's the key. I'm a positive, I'm an optimist.
You certainly are,
and a cyclist, so I'll find my way. I'd like to know, is there somewhere, I've got a co-working space, which is a small shared office space with hot desks. And what I'm finding now is people are saying, I'm coming to Louth for the weekend, or I'm coming for the week, and I'd like to use your space on the Friday before I start my holiday properly. So is there a way that I can get involved?
And would you offer cycling storage facilities to them?
Yeah, not storage as much, because they wouldn't be staying at my place. But I've got cycle racks and locks, and I'm a cycle mechanic. I've got all the toolkits.
You need the charter, absolutely.
So I can do that. I won't be hiring the bikes that come and use my space. They can use one of my bikes if they don't want to use their own. So I'd like to know how I can get involved and spread the word really in Louth. So that's what I'd like to do. Get involved in the charter if we can.
Absolutely.
But I'm not an accommodation provider. I'm a service office provider.
We can do that.
Yeah. Okay.
10 minutes from you.
Okay.
Absolutely. Please take a card. And as I say, there's the link to the Teachables course. And just work through the charter depending on sort of the type of business, and that fits perfectly.
Just one other thing, when it comes to the kit that accommodation providers are providing, provide them with a bike stand, and you'll make their lives so much easier. They tend to come with their own tools for their own bikes if they're serious cyclists. Give them a stand, and that just makes life so much easier working on the bikes. That's all I say.
Absolutely. I've also heard recently that a lot of international visitors that want to hire a bike struggle to get insurance for the bike. So...
What, for the one they're hiring?
Yes.
I never saw that as their responsibility, but...
So secure, lockable storage is key, and it doesn't have to cost a fortune, but that is key for an accommodation provider, But just sort of,
The most expensive lock you can afford is what I always say. If you've got a £1,000 bike, you can afford a £100 lock.
Absolutely, you're not going to put a £20 lock on it, are you? That's true. Hi.
So we've got self-catering at Louth, and we're very fortunate because there's 4 of the cycle routes that come from Louth, so that we potentially could have people coming to stay in our self-catering for 4 or 5 nights and do that. But is there a link that I can actually give people and advertise to where they can download those leaflets, or do I need to pick up the hard copies?
No, there's no hard copies at the moment, so at the end I can take your business card.
Well, there's some downstairs, it's the brown cycle routes, and I've got them, but I was just wondering if they're on, whether there's a website that's actually got the cycle routes on as well, because also people want them on their phone, they don't really want a leaflet.
No, absolutely. So what you find that a lot of the routes have the GPX files for people to download onto the phone. So I'll come down and have a look at the routes that you're talking because you're not talking about those 4 routes that I was talking about earlier, are you? You're talking about established routes?
I think, well, they were set up for, you know.
Yeah. There are some historic routes which are on the brown sort of A5.
Yeah.
They're ones that have been around for a little while. And they are online. I'm not sure where, but they are online. But you can get the hard copies. The 4 ones from Cycle Lincolnshire, they're able to download on the Cycle Lincolnshire website.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So, are all the routes on road, or is there some on? All the routes on road or off road?
The 4 routes that were created, they're predominantly on road. There's a couple of Lincoln ones that are
where there were off-road areas, we tried to use them and then link them up with quiet country lanes and things. So the water railway is a good example, isn't it? So we used the whole of that, but then linked it with quiet country roads to get there as well.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions or thoughts? How's the season looking? Are you getting bookings? Has any cyclists been in touch? What are you doing to attract more cyclists? Jackie, you've now got your accreditation. What are you going to do to attract more cyclists?
It's something I've looked at. So I've only been in business just over a year, and I've got guest house accommodation, and we just opened up a holiday home as well. So I need to reapply to get one for that place. So for me, going forward, I want to encourage people to stay a bit longer, because I'm looking more at overnight storage rather than. Actually, I want to put a bit of, not everything in, but I want some of the stands, like you said. Because some people might only stay a night, but then I've got 2. Not everyone now. I've got 2 garden rooms as well, which are quite accessible because you can go through the back instead of going through the house. So you've got your own private entrance, and maybe you can put your bikes in your room if you want to. But then I'm also looking at maybe 2 units for. Well, how do you use it? Is it shelter, do you call it? So
yes.
It's all covered up.
So it's covered up, so
it's like
people can't see it and it doesn't get wet through. There's nothing worse, I guess, than sitting on a saddle first thing in the morning and it's wet through.
The customer feels that they've got that. And also from doing the course, I've learned about now I need to go out and buy some extra little bits, and like, as you said, put a protein bar maybe in the fridge if they're staying overnight, because apparently it's something, they'd probably go, oh, wow, that's a nice memory. It's thoughtful and caring.
And then things like that, sort of word of mouth. If a cyclist was to come down to reception and they said, oh, great, have you got a plaster? And if, your receptionist said, oh yeah, here you go, or oh, where's the nearest cash point? And if she's able to sort of answer these questions.
I think that's me on arrival anyway.
Is it?
It's just like tourist information when they're walking.
It just makes for a nicer stay. And then they talk to their mates. But just going back, I think for accommodation providers, one of the biggest bugbears is a one-night stay. Because a lot of cyclists, if they're sort of cycling from point to point, and especially I guess maybe more of the keener cyclists where they're wanting to get the miles, they do want a one-night stay because they're going off the next day. You could possibly consider, I don't know, if they're booking as a cyclist, they'll probably say that they're a cyclist. Do some homework. What's nearby to maybe you could say, oh, while you're here, how about, I don't know, go here before you head off. Obviously, that type of conversation would probably need to happen before they head, because they probably have already booked sort of the next night's accommodation. But it's all about communication, isn't it?
I have had that actually, sorry to interrupt. I have had cyclists say before you did this was going back last year. And I found, I didn't have lots of cyclists, but I had a nice little share, and it was just through finding you on different platforms. And they're a really nice community, to be fair, because they're interested in everything, they want to know where, and like you said, they tend to plan everything. So when they tend to ask lots of questions before they arrive, so they do find out everything before they actually arrive. And I found that from experience.
Awesome.
Did you do much research on the age profile?
For the Dutch and the German market, this particular target market was 45 to about 60.
Really?
Because they are sort of empty nesters, the kids have left home, so they've got the time.
It's getting younger now, isn't it? The cyclist industry's
Oh,
the age has come down a lot.
Yeah, it's just that sort of this type of the holidays, the packages that were created, it was for that age group, couples or 2 or 3 friends cycling together, and as I say, not really wanting to break into a sweat, just 20, 25 miles a day.
Do you know of any tour companies that are offering to carry your kit from place to place while they cycle yet?
Outside of Lincolnshire, yes. Within Lincolnshire, I think there's maybe one. But
county boundaries don't mean a lot to cyclists. You know, they'll cycle.
Hallelujah, absolutely. They mean nothing. They mean nothing.
Yeah.
And it's not cyclists, it's holiday makers. You know, if you go down to, I don't know, if you go to London, do you really know if you're going to the West End or the East End or whatever? You just got certain places that you want to visit because you've seen the pictures and you want to have a look. So no, these boundaries, and that's why sort of I'm hoping Destination Lincolnshire will help sort of alleviate that a tad, because certainly for national marketing, going out of county with a Lincolnshire message where we're able to pool resources would have a stronger impact, and the money could be spent wider if we go out there with a broader, you know, with a broader voice. Because with the county as a whole, we've got the coast, we've got the wolds, we've got the market towns, we've got the city, we've got it all. As opposed to one little voice of a market town trying to promote themselves out of county. Lovely. Well, thank you for your time. I don't know how we're doing for time. Is it 9? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, it's very nice meeting you all. As I said, please feel free to take one of those cards. My email address is helen@visitlincoln.com, so it's really easy. Feel free to get in touch